In the previous lessons, we talked about the effects of heat on substances, and we had adequate time to go through and also to look at the substances which we can use to demonstrate various type of changes that substances undergoes in nature. Now, if this is the first time of you watching our classes or joining us in our lessons, please consider subscribing as well as sharing this video to as many learners as possible. So in our previous classes, I have just said, remember we are still talking about integrated science, and in the previous lessons, if I'm not wrong, we talked about a temporary and a permanent change, and which I believe by the end of the question, I was able to give some questions just to prompt your mind to see if you can be able to answer those questions, just to gauge yourself as far as the effects of heat on substances is concerned. Now, today, this is a new strand or a new substrand under force and energy in grade 8. Now, under force and energy in grade 8, we only have two substrands. We have transformation of energy, and then the second strand under force and energy, we have pressure. Now, today allow me to take you through the transformation of energy, the first strand under force and energy in grade 8. Now, as a custom, as a culture, as my culture, this is what I like doing with my learners. Allow me to take you to the summary section of what we are going to learn today. Now, in the summary section, we are going to begin by looking at defining what is an energy. We need to understand what is energy, and we also need to understand why do we need to learn energy, and then why do we need to learn energy transformation, and how does the energy help us in our survival here on Earth, or how does energy help us in our daily life. The number 2, still in our summary section, we will talk about the types of energy. The other term, the forms of energy, the type of energy that exists. After talking about the forms of energy, then lastly, we'll talk about energy transformation in nature, or energy transformation in day-to-day life. And how does this energy transformation help us in our day-to-day life or in our daily activities? How does it help in natural phenomena to occur? How does it play a role in natural phenomenon? Now, so let's begin by looking at transformation of energy. In the other term, we can call it energy transformation, the same as transformation of energy. Before talking about transformation of energy, please, I would like us to understand what is energy, right? Now, we have here the term energy. Before I give you how I understand by the term energy, please, you can have 5 minutes or 2 minutes to gauge your mind, to try to analyze, evaluate what's the meaning of this term here, energy. I'm giving you 2 seconds to evaluate your head, to assess your head and try to come up with the meaning of the word energy or the correct definition of energy. 2 minutes. Oh, in fact, I'm adding you, supposed to be 2 seconds. So your 2 seconds have elapsed. Now, allow me to give you the meaning of the word energy. There's somebody who told me when I was growing up that when I move from one point to another, I'm using energy. When I'm playing football in the pitch, I'm using energy. When I'm reading books, I'm using energy. When I'm analyzing the natural phenomena in the sky, I'm using energy. When a vehicle is moving, it's using energy. When industries and factories are functioning, they are using energy. Now, we need to ask ourselves, what is this energy? What's the correct meaning of energy? Right. Now, according to what I have here, we define energy as ability to do work or to cause a change. So an energy is the ability or capacity to do work or to cause a change. The capacity to perform a particular task. This is what we mean by energy. And let me use this example. For you to be able to read a book, you need to engage your brain. Then as you engage your brain, you need to see what you are reading in your books. Now, what is this that enables our eyes to see what we are reading in our book? This is light. Now, the light is enabling us to read our books. Then the light transmits this information into our eyes. Then this information transmitted into the brain. Then the brain is able to interpret what we are reading. Then through this, we are able to comprehend and understand what we are reading. Now, for this case, light is a form of energy. Light is a form of energy that enables us to read. Light is a form of energy that enables us to see things in our surrounding. So the light enables us to perform a particular task of reading. Therefore, we say that energy is the ability to do work or to cause a change. If somebody is walking from point A to point B, he needs energy to move. The body of that particular person needs a form of energy to move from point A to point B. This is the main reason why we are saying energy is the ability to do work or to cause a change. Then, why do we need to learn about energy? The main reason why we need to learn and understand about energy, we are using energy in our life. We are using energy to sustain our living here on the surface of the earth. We are using energy to survive in the world. We are using different forms of energy to survive. So we need to have a clear understanding of energy for it to be able, or for us to be able to use it well to sustain our life here on earth. For example, if you get into a house which is dark, then you switch on the socket, the bulb will be able to light. What is lighting the bulb? Electricity. Now, what is electricity? Electricity is a form of energy. Electricity is being converted to light energy. Then the light energy helps us to see things around us. When you are preparing meal in the kitchen, you use a form of energy. So we therefore need energy for our survival on the earth's surface, on the surface of the earth. We need energy to work. We need energy to communicate. We need energy to see things around us. We need energy to read. We need energy to move various objects from position A to B. The motor industries or the motor vehicles need energy for them to be able to ease the transportation from point A to B. So we are living with energy. And energy is the one that is sustaining the life on the earth. This is the main reason why we need to study about energy. Now, Having understood the meaning of the word energy, which is the ability to do work or to cause a change. Now, we need to look at the forms of energy, our number 2. In the summary section, the point number 2 is the types of energy. When we talk about the types of energy, we are talking about the forms of energy. Energy is a single substance, but it can exist in various forms. Now, these forms are the one we are calling the types of energy that I want us to talk about today. And maybe in the next lesson, we'll have more time to talk about energy transformation. Now, we have various forms of energy, and which I believe I have already mentioned some of these forms. Now, let's begin with the first one. The first one is light energy. Light energy. Then the second one, the heat energy. The heat energy. Then the third one is the sound energy. Sound energy. I have mentioned something about electrical energy. Electrical energy. I have mentioned something about meal or the food which we are taking. So we therefore write chemical energy. Then we also have magnetic energy. Magnetic energy. Then we also have kinetic energy. Then we have potential energy. Then the last one we have mechanical energy. Mechanical energy. Now, my learners, we have 9 forms of energy in nature. These are the areas which you are likely to be tested on. So we have 9 forms of energy in nature. The first one is the light energy. Then the second one is heat energy. The third one is the sound energy. Then the fourth one is electrical energy. The fifth one is chemical energy. Then the sixth one is magnetic energy. Then of course we also have the kinetic energy, potential energy, and mechanical energy. These are the forms of energy we have in nature, or the types of energy we have in nature. Now, I would like us to go through each and every forms of energy one by one to enhance our understanding, for us to be able to understand these forms of energy one by one. Now, let's begin with the first one, light energy. I have already mentioned something about light energy, and I have used example when somebody is switching on the switch, the bulb will light automatically. As the bulb light, we will be able to see the environment or the surrounding or the room. Now, what do we mean by light energy? What is this kind of energy? What does it entail? What does it have? Now, light energy is a form of energy that enables us to see things around us. Light energy is a form of energy that allows us to see things in our environment, right? So light energy This energy, a form of energy, let me write this. Energy that allows us to see things in our environment. Just to remind you something, we are not seeing things in our environment because we have good eyes. No. We are not seeing things in our environment because we have sharp eyes. No. We are only able to see things in our environment because of a form of energy called light. We therefore say light is a form of energy that allows us to see things in our environment. Okay? Now we come to the second form of energy, what we call heat energy. Heat energy. Let me use this example, boys and girls. We're using heat in the kitchen to cook, to prepare various substances which help us actually to strive or to survive or in this life. Now, what is heat energy? What is heat energy? What do you understand by heat energy, if I may ask? Now, heat energy, this is a form of energy a body has because of its temperature. A form of energy a body has because of its temperature. This is what we mean by heat energy. A form of energy a body has because of its temperature. Let me use this duster here to demonstrate something. This is a body. A body, in a simple term, it's an object. So this is a body on its own. This is a body, then also this is a body. Then this is a body, right? So a form of energy a body has because of its temperature. This is what we mean by heat, right? Now, how do you understand by the word temperature? The temperature is the degree of hotness or coldness of an object or a place. So a form of energy a body has because of its temperature, that is heat energy. Energy a body or an object body has because of its temperature. Because of its temperature. So heat energy is the form of energy a body has because of its temperature. Now, the higher the amount of temperature, or the higher the temperature, the higher the amount of heat energy. In a simple term, when the temperature of an object increases, or when the temperature of a body increases, the heat energy in that body does what? Increase. Are we together? Let me repeat this. The higher the temperature, the higher the amount of heat energy in a body. In a simple term, when you increase the temperature of the body, the heat energy of that body increases. Now we come to the third form of energy, what we call sound energy. Is sound energy. You are able to get me because of the sound I am producing. You are able to listen to a music because of the sound that is emanating from that musical instrument. We are able to hear the trumpet because of the sound that is emanating from the trumpet, right? Now, what is the exact meaning of the sound energy? The sound energy. So the sound energy, this is a form of energy produced by vibration of particles in matter. Vibration of particles in matter. Remember when we were talking about the matter, we said that matter is made up of small particles which are in a continuous state of motion. And these particles, when the temperature increases, they vibrate. Now, as they vibrate, they are able to produce a sound. Right? Now, this sound, we call it sound energy. The form of energy stored in vibration of particles of matter, it is called sound energy. So sound energy, energy produced by vibration of particles in matter. What do I mean by vibration of particles? When you begin hitting this body here, this is a solid, one state of matter. So I'm hitting it. As I hit, the particles of this body begins to vibrate. It is only through vibration that I'll be able to hear the sound, right? Now, sound energy is energy produced by vibration of particles in matter. Vibration of particles in matter. Now we have electrical energy. In our daily life, we are using electricity in so many ways. We are using electricity to iron our clothes. We are using electricity to light the bulb. We are using electricity in industries. We are using electricity in transports. We are using electricity in so many sectors in life. Now, what is electrical energy? Electrical energy is a form of energy stored in charged particles. A form of energy stored in charged particles. Just to remind you, we only have two charged particles, a positive particle and a negative particle. So a form of energy stored in charged particles. This is what we mean by electrical energy. So energy stored in charged particles or electric currents. So electrical energy, this is a form of energy stored in charged particles or electric current. Then we come to the fifth forms of energy, or the type of energy, the fifth one. We call it the chemical energy. In our life, we are using chemicals. The nutrients we get from foods are chemicals. We are using food. Food itself is a chemical. To mean it has a form of energy, and this form of energy is called chemical energy. When you eat food, you are getting chemicals like carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins, and minerals. Now, the form of energy stored in food, we call it chemical energy. Now, how do we understand chemical energy? This is a form of energy stored in chemical bonds. Energy stored in chemical bonds. Energy stored. Let me have something here. Energy stored in bonds of chemical substance and released through chemical reaction. Energy stored in bonds of chemical substances. This type of energy, we call it chemical energy. What do we mean by bonds of chemical substances? Bonds, this is a force or forces of attraction between the particles. Remember, we mentioned something about when we were talking about the states of matter, in the 3 states of matter, where we said that the particles of all the 3 states of matter are bonded together, or they are attracted together by a force of attraction. In the other term, what we call a molecular force. So the type of energy stored in the force of attraction between the particles of chemical substances. This is what we mean by chemical energy. And an example of a chemical substance that can give us chemical energy is food. Now, in between the force of attraction holding the particles of food together, we have energy. And this type of energy, how do we call it? A chemical energy. Right. Therefore, chemical energy, this is energy stored in bonds of chemical substances. And this energy can only be released through chemical reaction. So when you eat food, it goes into digestive tract where it undergoes chemical reaction to release an energy, a chemical energy which is converted to heat energy, which helps to warm our body. Then we have the magnetic energy. In grade 7, we talked about magnetism. Now remember, we said magnetism, it is an invisible force that attracts or repels objects without touching them. Now, magnetic energy, this is a form of energy a body has because of 2 poles, a north pole and a south pole, or a form of energy stored in magnetic field. 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 So magnetic energy, this is a form of energy that is contained in a body that has a north pole and a south pole. Always contained in a body with north and south, and north and south poles. So a form of energy stored in magnetic field, that is magnetic energy, and always contained in a body with a north and a south pole, like a magnet, e.g. magnet and the earth. Earth is magnetic because it has magnetic field. Now we have this. We have the kinetic energy. Kinetic energy. Initially, before, when we were talking about the kinetic theory of matter, where we said that a theory is just a concept which is trying to explain a certain phenomenon, right? Now, under kinetic theory of matter, we say that matter is made up of small particles which are continuously moving. And we mentioned that kinetic means the movement of a body, or movement of something. Kinetic, something is moving. Kinetic, an object is moving. Something is moving. Now, what is kinetic energy? What is kinetic energy? This is energy a body has when it's in motion. A form of energy a body has when it is moving. I am standing here. I'm possessing potential energy. When I begin walking, my body now changes to kinetic energy, a form of energy a body has when it is in motion, when a body is moving. Energy a body has when in motion. You are holding a ball in your hand, potential energy. When you release the ball now gains the kinetic energy because the ball is in motion. The ball is moving. Then we have potential energy. Potential means something it is at the resting position. At the resting position. I am holding these 2 pens. The form of energy these 2 pens possesses, it is a potential energy. Then what do we mean by potential energy? This is a form of energy a body has because of its position and condition. If any object or a body is not moving, it has a potential energy, right? A potential energy. As I'm standing here communicating to you, I'm possessing a potential energy. When I begin walking, now the potential energy transforms into kinetic energy. So potential energy, a body has due to its position and condition. Due to its position and condition. Then the last form of energy is a mechanical energy. What is a mechanical energy? A mechanical energy is a combination of kinetic energy and potential energy. A combination of kinetic energy and potential energy. Combination of kinetic and potential energy. Combination of kinetic and potential energy. So we are done with the forms of energy or the types of energy. Now just to take you through a quick recap of what we have done here. So when we are talking about transformation of energy or energy transformation, what we need to know. First need to understand what is energy. Energy is the ability to do work or to cause a change. The capacity to do work or to cause a change is what we mean by energy. Then when we come to types of energy or forms of energy in nature, there are 9. So the first one is light energy. Energy that allows us to see things in our environment. We have heat energy. Energy a body has because of its temperature. Then we have sound energy. Energy produced by vibration of particles in matter. Then we have electrical energy. Energy stored in charged particles or electric currents. Then we have chemical energy. Energy stored in bonds of chemical substances and can only be released through chemical reaction. Then we have magnetic energy. Energy stored in magnetic field, always contained in body with a north pole and a south pole. And the 2 bodies which have magnetic energy, we have a magnet and we have generally earth. Then we have kinetic energy. Energy a body has when in motion, when it's moving. Then potential energy. Energy a body has due to its position or condition. Then mechanical energy, combination of kinetic and potential energy. Thank you very much for your time. Please consider to subscribe and also to share this video in various groups and also to various learners so that these lessons can be very helpful to not only to you but to various learners in this country. Thank you very much.